May we explore all options this day. Gather whatever it is that you need to support yourself through this 30 to 40-minute practice. Let us start standing. So take the time to arrange your feet so that they feel hip width and the inner edges being parallel and weighted from your toe mounds to your heels as the inner arches lift upward. Arms long by your sides. Top of the head reaching up to the ceiling. And it might be that you do that little knee bend a few times here to further anchor the feet down. Okay? As the legs straighten, you'll notice the thighs firm just enough and they lift up, drawing the quads up towards the pelvis. The chest is wide, shoulders reaching outward. Take a nice long slow inhale through the nose, let it out through the mouth. And slowly inhale, you're going to reach your arms forward, you're going to reach them upward. But then you're going to take the elbows wide and you're going to turn the palms upward so that the hands they're just above the head. Okay? Shoulder tops are still relaxed, sink away from the ears. There's lots of space around the neck. The top of the head is reaching upward. Now, very slowly, you're going to turn your palms down and you're going to scan the hands all the way down through the front of your body. It's very much like a coffee press, a bodum. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, reach your arms forward and up. Turn the palms upward, bring the middle fingertips together. The hands here being just like satellite dishes that are gathering energy from the heavens above as the feet lean down and are gathering energy from the earth beneath us. Okay? With your exhale, turn the palms down and slowly scan the hands down through the front of the body. You bring the arms long by your sides and just notice this first movement, what it brings as sensation into the body. Let's check out our side bodies that sometimes tend to get quite sticky. I'm going to change this one a little bit. You're going to bring your fingertips just to the shoulder heads, shoulder tops, elbows out at the side. The feet leaning down. Let us slowly start to lean to the left. The left elbow is reaching down. The right elbow is starting to reach up to the ceiling. And as you lean a little quicker into that right foot, maybe you envision the left outer hip and side ribs drawing towards the right side of the body. You can stay here if this works for your shoulders, your arms, or you can extend the arms out and loosely interlace the fingers. Imagine breathing that right lung full and long. Notice where you feel the stretch. And then inhale, come on up. Let's release the arms, widen down. A moment to check in with what you notice, what you feel in your body. Let's do the other side. Bring the fingers up to the shoulder tops and slowly start to lean to the right. Right elbow reaching down, left elbow reaching up to the ceiling. The head stays stacked on top of the shoulders. And if you put a little bit more weight into that left foot, it might increase the stretch in the left side of the body. Watch that the rib cage isn't tipping forward a little bit. So do those little check-ins with yourself. This is your experience. Be responsible for where you put your body, because we want you to leave this practice feeling good with a smile on your face. And it could be that you extend the arms. Loosely interlace the fingers. Right hand is drawing that left arm just a little bit. Okay, inhale, come on up, float the arms down. Okay, this next posture, Utkatasana, chair posture, I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see my body. You have an option here. You can either have your feet hip width apart or even a little closer together, or maybe you like to bring your feet right together so that just the big toes lightly touch, the heels are slightly apart. Okay? This is thunderbolt pose translated from the Sanskrit, and it might be that you notice it's going to fire the legs up here. Imagine your inner legs are connected. They're snapped together. And here we're going to, as we exhale, you're going to bend the knees, but you're going to put the weight into the heels. And your bum moves out behind as you start to sit down into this pose. The arms reach forward. Those inner legs, inner knees stay connected. Okay? The heart stays lifted, the chest nice and wide here. Arms might float up a little higher. Heels might get a little bit more weighted. And if it is that you feel sensation in lower back, a couple things. Draw the navel gently into the spine, or maybe you gather your sit bones just enough so that you feel a comfortableness come into the lower back. Okay? A couple more breaths here. Knowing at any time you can always come up and rest. Remember, this is your experience, so dial in what you need. Utkatasana, the legs are getting very warm here. Maybe you sit in just a little bit more. We're going to take this one into Uttanasana, a standing forward fold. Slowly, as you exhale, you're going to start to fold forward, arms come down, and let us start with the hands on the knees. Now, if you have your feet right together, heel-toe them slightly apart so that they're hip width apart, and even the weight off across the soles of the feet, from the toe mounds to the heel. Inner legs are still connected here. Bent elbows tuck in by sides. Okay, and as the back of the legs starts to settle into the stretch, maybe you fold in a little deeper. You bring the elbows onto the knees, the belly onto the thighs, and you start to let the chin draw towards the throat. Now, you may notice that the weight shifted more forward to the toes, so even it off again with the heels. Some of you, this might be your bus stop. Okay? If there are heart issues, if there is high blood pressure, low blood pressure, if you have glaucoma, you want to be mindful that you keep the head above or in line with the heart. Okay? Maybe some of you slide the hands down the front of the legs, fingers to the floor, or maybe you simply cup the elbows in the hands and you hang over the front of the legs, looking back between the shins. Now, if you're holding onto the elbows, release them. We're going to bring this up to Ardha Uttanasana. Slide the hands up the front of the legs, either to the shins or to the knees. Bent elbows tuck in by your sides. And here the spine reaches forward through the top of the head. The navel, the heart lift in towards the back body. And the weight shifts forward more to the toes. All four sides of the torso are lengthening outward. Chest is wide, shoulder blades gathering together. Take all this length, fold it back down. Utkatasana, bend your knees, look forward, weight the heels, reach your arms forward and up. Inhale, press into the feet, stand tall. Release the hands all the way down to the heart. Close the eyes, drop the chin. Once again, check in as to what you feel, where you feel it, and what the dialogue is in the mind. As you're ready, with exhale, release your arms along by your sides, open the eyes, lift the chin. Ashta Chandrasana. This is a balancing pose that we have been practicing. And I'm going to encourage, come in super slow. I like to say surface slow. It is a high lunge. So if it is that a chair or the wall close by to use for balance is necessary, dial that one in. We're going to have the left foot forward here, shifting the weight into that left foot. Slide the hands up to the outer hips. Tip forward a little bit and drag the right toes back behind you. Stay up on those toes, the heel lifted. And we bring the spine upright. Okay? And if you find that your balance is all over the place, you could heel toe the front foot a little wider. That gives you a little bit more stability here. You could float the arms out to the sides to help with your balance. And slowly inhale, come up. Exhale, come down. Okay? And it's just playing with this balance. As you keep that left big toe mound and heel anchored, the right heel reaching out behind, but the right knee slightly bent. Okay? And we settle in. Inner legs connected here, even though they've scissored apart. Navel gathering just enough. Float your arms up, shoulder height, turn your palms forward, bend the elbows, your hold up arms. As you inhale, bring the arms forward. Exhale, open them apart. Do that 2 more times, slowly, watching the whole process here, the journey. Okay, this 3rd time, we bring the arms just forward in front of the shoulders and reach the arms upward. Okay? And it could be that your hands are a little closer together. It could be that they're a little wider apart. There's this wrapping of the outer arm forward as the inner upper arm draws back and the shoulder tops relax. As you reach that right heel back, you might feel there's a stretch into the right hip flexor. Maybe you sink in just a little bit deeper. We're going to step forward. Okay? Reach the hands forward, weight the left foot, step forward. Back at the top of the mat, Tadasana, check in as to what you feel, where you feel, and adjust your feet. Let's see what happens on the other side. And the other side could be a whole nother story. Bring the hands up on the hips. Right foot is your standing foot, so you may bring a little bend into the knees, tip forward, drag those left toes back there, stay up on the toes, the left heel lifted, yet reaching straight back. Maybe there's a little bend in that left knee. And in the beginning here, as you anchor into that right foot, toe mound heel, it's just coming up and down in the posture. Inner legs connected. Shoulders relaxed. And it's taking your time. Slowing it down. We got a lot of time these days. As you come in and you find that point of balance, float the arms up. Bend the elbows, palms are forward. Inhale, bring the arms forward. Exhale, open them apart. Do it 2 more times. Third time, the arms come forward just in front of the shoulders and we reach them upward. When you notice your balance shifts a little bit, be playful. Don't take yourself too seriously. Sink in a little deeper. And then as you're ready, arms reach forward. Weight that right foot, step forward. Tadasana. The arms long by your sides, chest nice and open. Let's take it through a little standing flow, a little bit more work into the hips. We're going to start Virabhadrasana to Exalted Warrior to Parsvakonasana and into Trikonasana. Step your feet apart and be mindful if there's blocks, props on your mat, be mindful of them, move them out of the way. Step those feet apart until your legs are being comfortably challenged. And here, at the toes drawing straight forward. And leaning into the big little toe mounds, center of the heel, inner arches lifting up. The legs are quite active here. We're going to keep this right leg reaching down into the floor, its outer foot reaching, its thigh firming. Hands come up on the hips. We're going to turn this left leg and so that its heel lines up with the right inner arch. And here we slowly settle ourselves into Virabhadrasana 2. Left knee drawing forward towards the middle toes and coming in over the heel. And if your pelvis is slightly tipped so that you feel like you're blasting out on the left side of the torso, the right side is crunching up, adjust your pelvis so that you get to the point where you feel both sides of the torso are the same length. Left thigh wraps outward, bringing a little firming into its glute, or we could say its sit bone feels like it's drawing into the body. And you might feel a nice stretch here in this right hip flexor. The feet, imagine your feet in sand and you got to draw them together just until you feel something interesting engage in the hip joint. And there's an evenness of weight in the feet. Let them sink down. As the feet sink down, the spine lifts up through the crown of the head. The chest is nice and wide open, but not so much that there's a rigidity. We want to find a softness, a fluidity. Inhale, float the arms up, just until they come up to shoulder height, without hiking the shoulders up to the ears. Exalted Warrior. Keep that left knee bent, turn the right palm upward, and now right arm reaches down right leg, left arm reaches up and over so that we open up the left side of the body. Coming through Virabhadrasana 2, arms come up. We're going to start here first with the left hand on the left thigh, leaning into it. The pelvis will tip a little bit. If you feel like your shoulders and your head came forward, a couple things. Imagine the throat gathering to the back of the neck, and there's a little headrest there for the back of the head to come into. You could stay here, or You could bring right elbow or left elbow down onto the left thigh. And for today, we're just going to reach that right arm straight up to the ceiling. Parsvakonasana. Now, look down at that left foot. You're going to anchor into that left foot, yet you're going to press it forward and slowly start to straighten the left leg, tipping the pelvis a little bit more, and leaning out over the left thigh, Trikonasa. And it might be that you play a little bit with bending and straightening that left leg to nudge its upper leg bone deeper into its hip joint. The sides of the torso, the same length, the crown of the head reaching outward, and the back of the head coming into the headrest. Okay, and you can have the left hand just resting on the leg lightly, or you can have it floating up in the air. Let's come back through Virabhadrasana 2. Couple breaths. And then inhale, come on up. Release your arms down. Turn the left leg. Heel toe your feet together for a moment. Opportunity to check in as to what you feel, where you feel it. Check in with the dialogue that might be streaming through the mind. And we use the breath here to bring us back into this present moment. Let's do this flow on the other side. Step your feet apart. Hands up on the hips. Okay? As you anchor into that left foot, left thigh gathering back, turn the right leg. Okay? We're lining heel up to arch. We're slowly taking our time, starting to bend that right knee, directing it, check in with it, towards the middle toes and in over the heel. If you peek down, you should just be able to see the top of your toes. Okay? Its thigh wraps outward so that you can feel there's a firming in the back of the hip. Okay? And the pelvis here, the pelvis is level. The left side of the pelvis might be slightly forward, but the hip bones are definitely level with one another. The spine is drawing straight up out of the pelvis, top of the head reaching upward, and now slowly float your arms up, shoulder height. Okay. As you evenly weight the feet, yet gather them together, feeling an engagement in the hip joint, exalted warrior, turn right palm upward, reach it up. Imagine breathing that right lung full and long, opening, spreading that right side body. And now flow coming through Virabhadrasana 2, coming to Parsvakonasana. Okay? And you might start with the hand on the thigh. Okay? And leaning into that hand, you might bring the elbows straight down. Come in slow, pay attention to what you feel, where you feel it. May all shape, all movement be comfortably challenging. Left arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Look down at that right foot and you press that right foot forward. Start to tip the pelvis, straighten the leg, Trikonasa on the other side. Settling in, make little adjustments. Wrap that right quad outward, okay, so that you feel a little engagement in the back of the hip joint. The feet anchoring down, and it could be right fingers lightly touch the right leg, or you reach the arms and let them float. Inhale, come on up. Virabhadrasana 2. And then inhale, straighten right leg, release the arms down, turn the right leg. Here, slide your hands up on your hips. Keep the legs apart. This is Prasarita. We're going to take this into a lunge, getting into these inner legs. Now, for some, it might be that to have a chair in front of you will be beneficial, or even a small little footstool might help you. Others may find that they can bring fingertips to the floor. I'm going to take my fingertips to the floor. With your exhale, slowly start to fold at the hip crease, bringing the spine down. Fingertips come to the floor. Now I'm going to dial in just so you can see. Here's my blocks, and I have a block for each hand. If it was that you had a footstool, it could be here. Okay? The weight wants to shift into the feet. It might go more back into the heels. Can we keep the weight even between the toe mounds and the heels? Now, we're going to come into the inner legs. This inner legs that I find sometimes are territory that have gone on vacation. Slowly start to bend the left knee, and you're going to walk the hands over to that left side as you're reaching out through that outer right foot. You'll feel there's the stretch in the inner leg. Inner legs often have slipped into amnesia. They're very tight, they're weak. The butt is out behind, or sticking it out behind. Yet mindful that the front ribs and the belly aren't spilling forward. So you want to keep a little gathering there. Now, as you're ready, slowly, you're going to shift over to the right. Okay, the right knee is bent now. Left leg is straight, and we're reaching out through the inner edge of that left foot as we stay anchored into that right foot. Big toe mound, little toe mound, heel. Noticing, is it different on this side? My right inner leg is most definitely tighter than the left. Let us bring it back to center. Both legs straighten. Bring your hands one at a time up on the hips. And with your inhale, come straight up. Heel toe your feet together. Bringing yourself back to Tadasana. Arms long by your sides. We're going to take this into a little flow down into Balasana. If it is that you don't want to come into the flow, you could arrange yourself in Balasana. I'm going to turn sideways once again. At the top of your mats, feet hip width apart or placed comfortably for your experience, arms long by your sides. Take a nice, long, slow inhale through the nose, let it out through the mouth. Inhale, reach your arms forward and up. Bend the knees, exhale, fold forward. Arms reaching forward and down. Uttanasana. Inhale, come halfway up. Ardha Uttanasana. Okay. Bring the hands to the mat. You're going to step back to hands and knees. Now here, if you need a little extra padding for the knees, you could slide in blocks or a blanket in underneath the knees. You're going to untuck those toes, bring the big toes alongside one another. Balasana, slowly start to sit the pelvis back to the heels. I like to bring in a little bit of movement, really nudging my weight in so that I bring this to fit the experience that I'm looking for. I've come down on elbows. Okay? Maybe you start here, stacking 2 fists to rest the forehead upon. Keeping the upper body lifted away from the mat enough so that the pelvis starts to sink deeper towards the heels. As your body settles into this shape, making any little adjustments, maybe you can flatten the hands, stack them, and bring the forehead down. Or maybe it's quite comfortable to bring your forehead straight to the mat and slide the hands just in front of the head on the mat. Tailbone reaching down between the feet. A little rounding of the back body up to the ceiling, possibly. Or if your experience is that you need to find a little bit more stretch in the mid-back, maybe you bring it more into a heart melting towards the mat. And this is going to open up that space between in the lower back, or in the mid-back, pardon me. You can stay here longer if this is what you need, or as you're ready, hands in under the shoulders, you're going to press yourself up and away. Swing the legs out to one side, swing them forward. And here we're coming into Dandasana. Okay? So if your hamstrings are super tight here, it might be that you want to bring in something just to put in underneath the knees, a rolled up blanket, a bolster. I like to encourage that you pull the flesh away from the sit bones so that you can really anchor those sit bones down into the floor. Now, if you feel like you're collapsing in the lower back and you're sitting more into the back of the sit bones and the lower back is rolling outward, maybe you need to bring a little lift in underneath the pelvis, because we want to find that placement where the sit bones are weighted either from the center of them or towards the front edge of them. The legs extend out, fingertips just out by the sides, just lightly resting, and the spine lifting up out of the evenness of the sit bones rooting down. And this might be where you want to hang out. This is a great place to hang out. Or moving with your breath, maybe you start to fold forward. Okay, coming into Paschimottanasana. Okay, a seated forward fold. And if it is that you want to bring more stretch into the back of the legs, keep your spine straight. If it is that you want to find a little stretch in the back body, you could round the spine a little bit. Okay. See that the inner thighs are melting down to the floor so that the upper leg bone stays in alignment in the hip joint. The toes are soft, okay, and they point just slightly away. And it's playing with this posture, moving it towards your edge, that point at which you feel restriction, yet not beyond it. And if you choose to stay here a bit longer, you can always catch up with us. Okay? Or if you need to come away sooner, you have that choice as well. Okay? Slowly, let us bring our spine on up. Okay? Now, if it is that little propping under the knees is necessary, can you slide it just over to the left knee? And you're going to let the right leg just roll away. You're going to bend the knee out to the side, and you're going to draw the foot in against that left inner leg. Now, for some of you, you might notice that this right knee is up in the air. And so a little bit of propping in underneath that leg could be necessary. Okay? For others, it might be that you're quite comfortable drawing that foot in a little closer. Okay? And it's the top of the foot that's reaching down. I'm going to reach back and I'm just going to pull the flesh out from around the sit bones once again. Okay? And you could be here, the hands just in front, fingertips lightly resting on the floor, letting the lower body spill and spread out into the earth. Or maybe as you watch the stretch, you start to reach the spine out over that left leg. Okay? Watching that the weight stays even in the sit bones. Okay? There's a little bit of these right side ribs. They're reaching forward a little quicker. The left side ribs are wrapping back a little bit. Okay? I'm getting a nice stretch here in this right side of the body. I want to show you just one more modification. I'm going to come up. You could take this left leg a little wider, okay, if that fits your experience a little better. Okay? And you could still play with leaning out over the left leg. Pausing here in whatever shape you have arrived in. Because we want to take our time, we want to enjoy this whole journey. It's not so much the destination of where we think we should land, but it's the journey of moving towards possibility. Okay? Slowly bring yourselves on up. Okay? You're going to help the legs here. Now bring that right knee up. Reach the legs out. Give them a little shake. Okay. Now let's do the other side. So if you knew that you took the leg a little wider on the other side, you could take it there now, or you could just leave it reaching straight out. Okay. The left leg just falls away. Okay. And you bend the knee, you start to draw the foot in. And maybe it is that you adjust those sit bones. Maybe it is that you need that little bit of propping to help the knee. Okay? Or maybe you're just quite comfortable here. And we take the time to let the sit bones settle in. Okay? Let this left leg settle in, the right leg. Watch that it's not rolling outward, but there might need to be a little bit of inner rotation. You can even encourage the thigh to roll inward. And as you keep the sit bones evenly weighted, maybe you start to lean out over the right thigh. Left side ribs wrapping forward as those right side ribs wrap backward. Use your breath. We want all shape to be pleasant and comfortable. There's no need to rush it, no need to force it. A couple more breaths here. And then as you find yourself satisfied, slowly coming on up. Okay? help that left knee to come up. Reach that left leg out. Okay. This next posture, I want to give you a couple different bus stops in it. I know for some that knee issues can be a problem, and so if you know that you have knee issues, or if it is that you know the energy level just isn't there today, and you want to come down on your backs, you can come on down now. I'll show you the first modification. This is Gomukhasana. Okay. So just watching me to start with, okay, we settle the spine down on the mat, and you could bring in a block or a pillow to the back of the head if that was necessary. Okay? And you're going to cross first your right knee on top of the left. Inner thighs are spinning into one another. And as you take the feet, lift them off the mat, take them apart, you can hold on to the front of the shins. Okay? So this is your Gomukhasana turned upside down on your back. Okay? And if that option looks for you to be, that's just exactly what you need right now, you could start to dial it in now. Or if it is that you want to do this posture seated upright, okay, I'm going to give you a couple bus stops in it. Okay. So right knee comes on top of the left, okay, and the foot swings out to the side. Sit bones, once again, you might adjust the flesh on the sit bones. And it could be that you're just here, okay? Thigh is wrapping outward, right thigh, you can feel it back here in the hip. This is your bus stop. Okay? If you want to take it to the second bus stop, okay? You're going to weight that left sit bone, swing the left foot out to the side and bring it in against the right outer hip. When you land at this bus stop, both sit bones evenly rooting down, and you're weighted into the center or slightly forward on the sit bones, and the sides of the torso need to be the same length. Okay. Let us very loosely interlace the fingers and just rest, cup the hands on the front over that right knee. You could stay here. Eyes closed, watching the pelvis sink down into the earth. This is a great place to hang out. Notice what the sensation felt in the legs is. Or you could start to tip the spine a little further forward, walking the hands forward. Making little adjustments as you come into shape. And it doesn't matter which bus stop you're at, on your back, or at the first bus stop, or at this second bus stop. They're all awesome places to hang out, and they all offer different challenges. The scenery is different. When we take it to the second side, you do the same thing on the second side. As you're ready, coming on up. Okay. Help the legs unwind. If you're on your back, unwind them, feet to the floor. Give your legs a lift, knees side to side. If you're seated upright, legs out, give them a little shake. Okay, we're going to go straight to the other side. So on this one, your left knee is going to be on top. Okay, so if you're on your back, you can start to bring yourself in there. If you're seated and you're going to come into that first bus stop seated, it's left knee on top, left foot swings out and comes in towards the right outer hip. Sit bones evenly weighted. And it might be that you want to just stop here for a second if you know you're going to go to the final bus stop. Okay? And when you're ready, okay, it's taking yourself to that final bus stop. Now, I find I always need to move my calf out of the way. Calves tend to be a little more fleshy, so if I move, I wrap that out, I can settle in a little more. This bottom right knee, I can feel it on the floor. The sit bones, I'm into the center towards the front of the sit bones. And here, interlace the fingers that not normal way. Okay, we will always want to try to do it both ways. And you could pause here, eyes closed, just watching, feeling, listening, paying attention to the experience here. Or you could start to tip your spine forward. Be responsible for where you put and take your body. So I want you to come away with a smile on your face, feeling good. And as you're ready, slowly come on up. Okay. Unwind. Okay. And when you're ready, let us transition onto our backs on the mat. And if it is that you want to gather an extra layer here, you could put on another shirt, you could put the socks back on your feet. Okay? If you need a pillow underneath the head, because the chin is lifting up to the ceiling, gather that. Your feet are planted. Arms either by your sides, palms up, or maybe you have your arms wider out to the sides, or maybe you just have your hands rested on the belly. Slowly wave your knees left and right. As you wave your knees left and right, keep the shoulders anchoring. And it could be that this movement, this is exactly what you need to finish off this experience this day. We got a couple other little modifications that I will throw at you that you might want to explore. You could reach the arms up to the ceiling, you could clasp the forearms, and as the knees go one way, you could take the arms the other way. You could do this as well with the arms just reaching out. Okay, you could do it like this. Okay. There's so many different ways, so explore, be curious, okay. Be creative. Okay. We got one more option here. I'm going to do it as I turn towards you. Okay. We let the knees drop one way, you pause. Only if this is comfortable in your knee. Okay, that bottom foot, you're going to bring it up onto the top knee. Okay? In this case, I brought my right foot up onto my left outer knee. Getting this great stretch down this left side. I've taken the left arm out a little wider, so that I can feel the stretch right up through the armpit and into the arm. Okay. Carefully slide that foot off, bring the legs back, I'm going to take it the other direction. I'm coming in very slow so that I can check this out, feel my way into it, so that I'm being very careful, very kind with my body. And then as you feel satisfied, okay, the foot comes down, we bring the knees back up. I got one more little placement for you. Slide those arms down by your sides. And now you decide, palms up, palms down, doesn't really matter here. The feet are hip width and they're in underneath the knees. This is such a small movement. And it might even just be, as you stand into the feet, the weight of the pelvis just comes away from the floor. My pelvis is still touching the floor, actually. I haven't even lifted it off the floor. Okay, I'm anchored into the inner edges of the feet, and I'm just going to let my pelvis sway a little bit side to side. It just gets a nice little movement that gets into the hip joints. Lets go of any tension, any gripping that might be there. And you could be a little playful even here in exploring. And then float that pelvis back down. Okay. Maybe to finish off, you finish here, heels wider, knees drop inward, hands to the belly. And starting to set ourselves up for this final, most important posture of all, Savasana. And it might be that being in this shape here is where you land. It might be that you extend your legs straight out and let your body relax. Maybe you bring in a blanket. It's 3 to 5 minutes of resting, the body relaxing and letting go, the mind quieting. For others, lying flat is not dialed into their experience. So it could be that you bring yourselves up to a comfortable seated place. Prop the legs, the hips, so that you can sit comfortably. Hands rested, eyes closed. Wherever you land, take a few soft inhales and sigh the breath out. Use this breath to arrive in your Savasana, and may you enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me this day. And may you be safe, may you be well, may you eat healthy, and one final reminder, our card. Thank you for joining me.